You are listening to the Intelligence Studies Podcast, a co-production of the Department of Intelligence and Security Studies at Coastal Carolina University and the Research Institute for European and American Studies. We explore the connections between the study and practice of intelligence in the domestic and international security environment of our time.
Welcome all to the Intelligence Studies Podcast, a co-production of the Department of Intelligence and Security Studies at Coastal Carolina University and the Research Institute for European and American Studies. I am Dr. Joseph Fitsanakis, Professor of Intelligence and Security Studies here at CCU, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be speaking today with a truly distinguished guest, who will be discussing the latest developments in NATO, with particular reference to the alliance's southeastern flank, which includes Turkey and Greece. I have with me Vice Admiral Ioannis Egolfopoulos, who served in the Hellenic Navy from 1971 until his retirement in 2004. In addition to graduating from the Hellenic Naval War College, Admiral Egolfopoulos is a graduate of the Master of Science program in Engineering and Weapons Engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. He has also served as Greece's Naval Attaché in Washington, D.C., and as Director of Logistics for the Hellenic National Defense General Staff, among a plethora of high-level positions. Since 2004, he has worked as CEO and consultant for several firms in the United States and in Greece. Admiral, it is a distinct pleasure to welcome you to this podcast.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for inviting me to this distinguished podcast.
Now, the timing of our conversation is ideal. We have just witnessed the NATO summit in Lithuania, which took place at what I think is a critical moment in the alliance. So it appears, and I'm saying that because we're not sure of the outcome yet, but it appears that NATO is preparing to welcome Sweden into its ranks. Now, this would have happened many months earlier had Turkey not posed a series of objections that delayed Sweden's entry into the alliance. So it appears that a US-Turkey defense deal was central to Turkey's U-turn, according to which Ankara will now be allowed to purchase F-16 fighter jets from the US and will receive assistance from Washington in modernizing its military. Now, how do you assess US-Turkey relations following this latest turn of events? Can we speak of a drastic change or even improvement in US-Turkey relations, or are we still in a downward spiral?
Let me ask to the last part of your questions, because your questions is very, very interesting and has a lot of critical issues to discuss. My feeling is that nothing will happen. Turkey is not gonna change positions to anything. So we are in the same level. This NATO summit was a companion of mutual promises. Everybody promised to the other without to have any solid answer to all the questions. When Sweden will join NATO? As soon as possible was the first reaction of President Erdogan. But after a while, he said, "Oh, we cannot do anything." Where? In Turkey now. We are talking about Turkey, okay? That is one man leading the whole nation. Erdogan. He said that, okay, we have our parliament. The parliament is closed for 2 months. The parliamentarians, they don't work for 2 months. And after October, we can discuss that. What is going to happen until October? But before we go there, I don't think that the relation between United States and Turkey will be improved. And this is very well known to the people in the administration. and to the Congress. Everybody knows that Turkey has turned to east. Turkey is not anymore to west. And there are reasons for that that we will explain after I answer to your previous question. Now, what was the Turkish demand for this summit? First of all, this summit was a very serious summit because we had, first of all, to accept Ukraine in NATO. Also, there, Ukrainians got a promise that they will join NATO, but in the future, when the things will be ready to accept them in NATO. And of course, President Biden said to them, look, we have so much support, it looks like that you are already in NATO. So you cannot complain about that. And of course, the Minister of Defense of Great Britain was a little more brutal, let's say, saying that, look, we are an Amazon, whatever you want us to order and to send to you, you have to say at least thank you for what we are doing for you. Okay, and for that reason, he will resign in the next change of the government. In any case, the importance was Ukraine, first of all. The second importance in this NATO meeting was that the alliance from the Pacific, Japan, Australia, and other countries joined this NATO meeting. And it was very important that. Why? Because we can see connections between the Atlantic Alliance and the Pacific Alliance. Already was present there, the Prime Minister of Australia, the Prime Minister of Japan, the Prime Minister of South Korea. I mean, a lot of important countries have joined these NATO meetings, which is very, very important on that point. And of course, we had good results on this. We had good results just to agree that we'll continue this cooperation from all the parts of the globe. We will have an alliance and we have a communication between the big powers. This is something very important. Now, I'm coming back to Turkey. Turkey came to the meeting with 3 requests. The first request was Sweden has to do more and we will accept, in order to accept them to join NATO. After the meeting, Erdogan promised that, okay, we will accept you. You will join. When? As soon as possible. When is this as soon as possible? After October. Okay, let's wait and see. We're living a good faith with him, so we have to wait for him. The second one was the discussion about the F-16s, as you mentioned, the modernization of the old ones and the acquisition of the new ones. President Biden just said to him, I will put my effort to the Congress. Why to the Congress? And he was right. Even State Department has not sent the first request from Turkey, that it was for the modernization of 40 old F-16s, to the Congress. Why they didn't send that? Because Turkey is under the sanctions of Qatar law. Turkey has already sanctions. And these sanctions, nobody can overpass if Turkey do not fulfill the requirements. For example, will Turkey send out the S-400? This is a question. And of course, we have to recall countries that get weapons from United States cannot use or threaten these weapons against not to the NATO countries, to the alliance of United States. This is very important. What of all this the Congress should be eliminated in order Turkey to acquire the F-16s, the modernization and of course the new ones? Which one? I cannot see any indication from Turkey that will do that. even though after the earthquakes of 6th of February, the tension between Greece and Turkey and the tension generally in the East Mediterranean has already calmed down and it's almost zero, to be honest on that. And Turkey has behaved in a very, very good way. We have to accept that and we have to acknowledge that.
I think it's interesting that you began this analysis from the topic of US-Turkish relations, and then you transition to the topic of Turkish-Greek relations, which is a great transition, because I did want to ask you about that, because in addition to that kind of wrangling for agreements that took place in the NATO summit, this same summit was also the first opportunity for a meeting between Greek and Turkish leaders between them in about 16 months or so. So following that meeting, again, these are two NATO countries, right? Two NATO member states. Following the meeting, Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis and Turkish President Erdogan spoke about an opportunity to quote unquote reset Greek-Turkish relations, which have been quite tense in recent years. You yourself just stated that relations have been a lot less tense lately. So many observers talk optimistically about that. Others, however, mention that this meeting may have been overstated in terms of its significance. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the subject?
We did the analysis and what are the problems with Erdogan. So let's go to the meeting with Prime Minister Mitsotakis and President Erdogan. This was a very good meeting. We should talk. We should have peace in our area. I have lived this tension for 38 years that I was in the Navy, and really it's not good. It's not good. Not good for the two sides. I mean, we spend enormous amount of money for fuel. Why that? Why instead to use all these resources for other more productive issues? I mean, we need to talk. And of course, we have to talk. And Prime Minister Mitsotakis did something which, from my side, and openly I have mentioned that twice in the Greek TV here. The next day, on Wednesday, we had the summit. It was over in Vilnius. On Thursday afternoon, Prime Minister Mitsotakis gave an interview to one of the most prominent channels in Greece, Sky TV, and to a very good journalist, an interview. And what he did there, he explained all these kind of things, and he said, look, in order to resolve the main issue, the core of the problem, which is to define the areas of exclusive economic zones between Greece and Turkey, in order to do that, I am ready to do some steps back in order to solve this issue. This is from the beginning of a negotiation. A lot of people said that, oh, when you go to negotiate, you cannot say that you will step back. But this was very clever from the part of Prime Minister Mitsotakis. Why that? Because he threw the ball to Mr. Erdogan and he said, look, openly, the next day of the summit, the next day of our meeting, I said after the meeting that I will do steps back in order to resolve the issue. Can you do the same thing for me? He didn't do that. And he will not do that. He will not do that because he does not care to have a good relations with Greece and with the West. I'm saying that not because I don't want Greeks to talk with him. This is my first priority, to talk and to resolve the issue. But having seen how he established his government and what kind of people he have used in order to govern the next 5 years Turkey, I am not enthusiastic. I am very pessimistic. And I'm very pessimistic because Turkey, from a circular, problematic democracy based on the guarantees of the armed forces, Now we have an Islamic democracy, in quotes, driving by the principles of the Brotherhood Muslims. This is the situation. And of course, having a Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Hakan Fidan, his first now in the position of Mr. Kalin, who went to the intelligence service, Mr. Kilis, all of them, they have very strong, not democratic ideas. They love Iran. All of them, they love Iran. Hakan Fidan comes from, his parents are Kurds from Iran. He grew up in Iran. He got a training to the Iranian secret services and intelligence services. And after came to Turkey and came to United States and got a bachelor degree, and after got his PhD from Turkish University. And his thesis, by the way, it's really fantastic. I have this thesis, I have read this, and he did a comparison between the intelligence services of United States and United Kingdom versus to Turkish intelligence. And of course, after that, everybody introduced him to Mr. Erdogan, and he got immediately the position of head of the intelligence of Turkish intelligence. So I want to solve, as a Greek, I want this problem between Greece and Turkey wants to be solved. From the Greek part have shown the will to resolve this issue. Let's see what the Turkey will do.
You are listening to the Intelligence Studies Podcast, a co-production of the Department of Intelligence and Security Studies at Coastal Carolina University and the Research Institute for European and American Studies.
Admiral, you just mentioned Iran, which actually brings me to my next question to you, which considers the wider context of this dispute. It's clear that relations between Turkey and Greece are part of a wider puzzle in the area that involves the entirety of the Eastern Mediterranean. It includes countries like Egypt. You mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood just a moment ago, and that connects to Egypt in a way. Lebanon, Israel, let's not forget Syria and Libya. There's also arguably an energy angle to this, which often commentators, I think, forget to mention, and that involves countries like Russia, Iran, that you just mentioned, even Saudi Arabia, and of course the United States. So I was wondering, how important is this wider context in understanding the ongoing developments in the region?
It is a trouble area, very troubling area. It is not an easygoing area. Okay, so United States have decided that they will support the axis between Greece, Cyprus, Israel, Egypt. Why that? Because this axis is very close to the interest of United States, and each country interests are coming closest to the interest of United States. So we have an approach, very easy approach of all them. The second is that, as I mentioned to you about the Turkish government and how the situation, the people who will dealing every day the business, what they are thinking and from where they are coming, because to have done a scouting about them, it's very important to understand where they are going, what they are looking for. One of the reasons that I mention Iran is because Iran is the country that sends out a lot of bad habits that are not acceptable. It is the most kind words I can say. Iran supports all the jihadist groups, Together with Iran is coming Turkey. And I have to recall that when President Biden was a vice president in 2013, he said, we know from where the ISIS is getting and all the jihadist groups are getting the power, from Turkey. And then Mr. Erdogan came out and said, what are you saying? And all these kind of things. And the vice president this time, Mr. Biden, said, okay, you didn't understand well what I'm... anyhow, they tried to cover that. This is the truth. Why Egypt cut it all the connection more than 11 years with Turkey? Due to the Muslim Brotherhood support of Turkey. Why Israel didn't want to talk to Turkey for so many years? Because Mr. Hagan Fidan, the present Minister of Foreign Affairs, when he was the chairman of Intelligence Service, he gave the names of 4 agents, intelligence agents of Mossad to Iranians. And in Turkey, they captured them. Now, Iran has 2 views actually. One, to have a nuclear weapon, and the second is just to have an exodus, just to come as an exit to Aegean and to East Mediterranean. They try to do that by financing highways or the pipelines through Syria. That's why at this time, and of course, Iranian papers gave some maps how these highways starting from Iran and the pipelines starting from Iran through Syria will come out to the East Mediterranean. And now they want to support and they want to finance pipelines from Iran to Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean. Why they want to do that? Because the second step of that is the presence of Iranian forces in this area, naval forces. So you understand why I'm talking about the Iranians. Of course, we'll be aware for what happened when after the brokering of China between Iran and Saudi Arabia and the visit of the foreign minister of Saudi Arabia to Iran, they had a lot of diplomatic disorders there. In any case, State Department Mr. Blinken went to Saudi Arabia and just resolved a lot of issues. So here we have to be very, very careful to what we are saying and what we are doing. And what we are doing with Turkey. It is not an easy country, and especially with this administration.
Let's take this back to NATO, which is the main part of our discussion today. I mean, I'm looking at your biographical note. It's clear to me that you've spent your entire career steeped in the geopolitics of the Eastern Mediterranean region, but you're also apparently, I mean, I can tell by the way you talk about this, you're intensely familiar with the inner workings of NATO, of which, of course, Greece has been a member since 1952. And I wanted to ask you specifically about the alliance's southeastern flank. How do you see the future of that southeastern flank of NATO, given, of course, that Turkey's romance with countries like Russia or Iran is taking place right now? Is that business as usual? Is Ankara playing a dangerous game that risks compromising the entire stability of NATO and of the wider region? What are your thoughts on that, Admiral?
There's no doubt that Ankara is playing a very dangerous game to that region. You cannot support Russia after the invasion in Ukraine. You cannot support Iran after what is going on in Iraq, in Syria, and in all these countries. You cannot support all the terrorist groups that have activities in the area of Syria. So Turkey also, it's because dangerous, is playing just to trying to do a blackmail to the West. The blackmail consists more of money. First, they need money because the economic situation of Turkey is very bad. Everybody knows that. And of course, secondly, because it's very difficult for Turkey to jump from NATO to any other alliance. Can you imagine what's going to happen? Do not have air defense, nothing. The all air defense system based in NATO. The S-400 that they got, it is not possible to connect it with the NATO system. All the army equipments, Army, Navy, Air Force, are coming from the NATO countries. So they have to change all this. They tried to survive and they said, look, what Turkey say? They say, look, you cannot tell me what I should do. I am an independent country and I can do whatever I like. But at the same time, they are baking and they are going with the head in front of them and say, look, we need money. We need spare parts. We need weapons. We need fighters. We need everything. So that's why I'm explaining that it's dangerous, the game that they are playing. I don't think that Turkey will succeed on that because it is the opposition in West, in NATO countries, and especially in the United States, is so strong about what is Turkey doing that I don't think that Turkey will survive for a long that. They had, of course, they believe that Russia is gonna help them military and financially. Now they believe that the Arab countries will help them. The Arab countries, they don't help even themselves, not the Turkey. You know, they have money. And they are saying, look, I'm not giving money for nothing. I have to get something. But Saudi Arabia, United Emirates, Qatar, which is the most closest country to Turkey, they are not giving money without to get something. They are going and they are conquer the most important areas of Turkey as a shareholders in a percentage up to 15%, no more. Also, they are assisting Turkey by giving in advance dollars in order Turkey to be able to pay the loans that they got from the foreign banks. They took advantage of United States. We have to admit that. They took advantage. The strong dollar made them rich and they pushed their economies. And now they are ungrateful to United States. And now they have turned against the United States and to the West. So let's see, we have to wait for a couple of years. Even strong countries, I think that this decade from now to 2030 is going to be a strange decade. Why? Because a lot of things will change. The countries are using the digital currencies or the cryptocurrencies. We have a lot of changes in that. All these things are related. And Turkey play this dangerous game because there are all these uncertainties.
Let me ask you something else, Admiral. I am sure you're aware that this podcast has a predominantly American audience, which includes academics, it includes intelligence professionals, and of course, decision makers at all levels of the American government. From your vantage point, as someone who is observing the latest developments in NATO, is there an aspect of these developments that you think the US should be paying particular attention to, or perhaps a parameter that you think US policy needs to focus more intensely in the coming months?
First of all, the most of the NATO countries are suffering from energy because the war, the invasion in Ukraine, created all the problems. And of course, the NATO countries have really problem with the energy issues. And the energy the countries that they produce energy that we need in Europe, they taken advantage of that. But European Union and NATO specific, I'm talking for both because 90%, 99% are there, you know. So the NATO countries, they should support the East Med pipeline. Why the East Med pipeline? First of all, because Greece and Cyprus are members of the European Union, and of course Greece is a member of NATO. Very soon, I think that Cyprus will become member of NATO. Already what they discussed in the last summit, it was also to include to the defense plans Cyprus without the name directly, but with some points around Cyprus, let's say, which of course is a little bit not well done, but anyhow, it is a step to the positive direction for Cyprus. Secondly, Israel needs these two countries, Cyprus and Greece, and of course, Egypt. These four countries is the core of what is going to happen in the next years, and they will be producers of energy. So United States, I know that they support the energy of these areas to come to Europe, but of course, United States cannot finance that, because as a very good friend of mine from the White House told me, Ioannis, we went to the Congress, and a congressman from the Midwest told me, fantastic project. What is going to be the benefit of the United States? No benefit, and they are right. So who has to finance that? The European countries. Okay, so the European countries, and I have heard that the European countries will have a parliamentary conference in October, I think probably in Poland, just to discuss how they will support financially this thing. We have to be very careful in that, and they have to have the support, because if United States want that, they will do that. Can you imagine an Egypt which will be in trouble, which will be in an unstable situation? Do you know that from Egypt, almost 1/3 of the world trade passing from Egypt? Do you remember what happened when one of the Evan Green vessel stuck in the Suez Canal? What happened for 1 month? So Egypt is the key country in the region. And if Egypt comes in instability, okay, then the whole world will start the instability for the trade, for the energy, for everything. One part of this is just to establish the East Med pipeline. Why? Because Europe will have a source of energy more than enough in order to support their needs. And of course, we have to keep Egypt next to the West for all the other regions. So the people that are hearing us should consider very serious that Turkey, as I have understand from the NATO plans and from the United States plans, it's not so important as in the past. Why that? Why is not so important? Because the new technologies that we have in our hands, they can overpass Turkey. Did you see what happened? They played games with the Dardanelles and Bosphorus Straits. United States came here, the West came here, NATO came here, established the port of Alexandroupolis, and all the trades are going faster and safer through the NATO countries, and all the supports and everything to Ukraine, to the East Europe countries, much easier, without so much cost, and without the blackmail of Turkey that I don't let that, I don't let that, I don't do that, I don't do that. And of course, we have to think that Turkey always took a lot from West, and especially from United States. And what was the return? Very little. Very little. So people have to consider that. Have to consider what they are doing. If they let Turkey to continue this behavior, Turkey will continue this behavior, this dangerous behavior, as you mentioned. Will not be good for all the area. For all the area.
These are ominous warnings, Admiral. I want to thank you sincerely for taking time off your busy schedule to educate our audience today on these very important topics. It's been a true pleasure and honor to have you as our guest today. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you all for listening to the Intelligence Studies podcast. Until our next episode, be safe and well.
Thank you for listening to the Intelligence Studies podcast, a co-production of the Department of Intelligence and Security Studies at Coastal Carolina University and the Research Institute for European and American Studies. To find out more about intelligence and security studies at Coastal Carolina University, go to coastal.edu/intelligence. For more about the Research Institute for European and American Studies, visit rieas.gr.